I was too all day. And now I'm sure of it.
Mine was much more temporary than that.
He particularly requested we go past 9 o'clock.
Oh,
Well, it's my anniversary today too. It's
Your
like, so
anniversary.
this is a wife is probably thrilled with all this.
Congratulations.
Yeah, for another year went by.
Jim and I are almost on our 50th, which is hard
Wow.
to believe. Right? Is Brian walking in or is he going to be here?
I had heard it was supposed to be live.
your audio.
Oh. Oh, I don't.
Okay. I got nothing.
Did
No?
you-
Nope.
Did you
Mailbox
call?
is full and I had considered it. I was thinking we should have had a backup appeals committee member.
Well, we do have a quorum, you and I,
Um,
so I hate to do that.
yeah, that's just. I don't see that as being a thing we want to do, but
Neither do I.
How much time do you want to let everybody have for their side, their presentation? Have you thought about that?
for the first one, it'd be about 15 minutes. Second one, give
Which
him
is
a half
only-
hour.
Which is only $7.
The second,
No, you ought to give equal time to both Joanne and
Oh,
and then Joanne gets one more bite at the apple just to.
oh, right. Oh, I'm trying to say for both sides, it's like, well, because the first people up
Joanne will go first.
and it's supposed to be a different group.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, I know what you're talking about, but yeah, same.
Yeah, but
You don't probably don't need to give them as much time for that. I feel that's
yeah.
not that much to say.
Yeah,
Are
so
they even here?
I-
And what are they-
I don't know.
Can you call Sonia? She's probably got some other. Some other ways to get in touch, at least with Anne.
No.
Hey, have you heard anything from Brian Pope? And I tried calling him and no answer, so. it could be the 6 o'clock versus 7 o'clock story. All right, bye.
Yeah, I wondered if it was 7. Didn't your board meeting start at 7? I was confused. I called Joanne. I didn't get any notice of the hearing.
Not quite often, if it's not a board meeting, a special meeting, we drop it back because
Drop it back to,
do a 6.
oh, I see.
Quite a few times. I mean, we're pretty consistent about that.
Okay.
Because gives everybody a chance to go home earlier. 7 was allowed, is because of what we established. But for special meetings, it's just 6 o'clock.
That is the point, except Brian was good with the 6. We talked about it. Remember? Maybe Brian forgets.
Well, we're so restricted on the membership of this committee because, well, we didn't have any members to put on it before. And it's like, so what would that do for us to say, that's it, we're postponing this one?
You could because you don't have, I mean, if you've got a quorum, you can go ahead if you want. But if you'd rather have a full, I mean, it would be after the election. Presumably.
No, that wouldn't work. Because it's a whole new board. I'm not running, I'm gone, Brian
Oh, well-
Scott.
Well,
neither
at
of
that
us
point,
are.
it would have to be delayed for a few weeks because
Yeah.
we would have to choose some new members.
What if we delay it till 7? In case that he thinks it's at 7?
Yeah.
Is that
I mean, you
doable?
could, particularly if you had information to believe that
Well,
he's on his way.
we don't.
Yeah,
and
we
I-
do. It's Brian and he gets confused. Is that information?
Well, that's not how I would like to operate. Because then,
Yeah,
So my daughter who is like dealing with it, we
Right.
kind of have it all together, obviously, that's all one, and she's gonna be here shortly, but she's a single mom and has kids at home. Once she shows up and has said, I'm here, can she designate me to speak for her? and
Sure.
leave?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, especially since otherwise she these kids at home and.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, it doesn't have to be the appellant. You can designate an attorney or designate mom if you want.
I just said, make sure you show up and say hello and let them know that.
Yeah, and she may, if, I'm fine, frankly, if you want to represent to us that you're gonna be speaking on her behalf. Because we're trying to figure out, first of all, Joanne's making some copies. I'm not sure when we're going to start. We have one appeal before you.
Yes, I know.
And then I don't, so I don't know if we're gonna delay this a little bit. Here, we're waiting on
Brian,
Brian to show.
And
So I'm
haven't
fine
heard-
If she doesn't wanna take time away from the kids and you just wanna represent, I mean,
Can't, I can, like, she's checking on the kids right now, because like she brought the one off at gymnastics. My husband is there right now, helping out, but.
Yeah.
I
I don't need her to come over. If all she's gonna do is say, I'm here and I'm designating my mom to speak on my behalf, we can just take your representation that you are,
Okay, I will quickly call her and tell her she doesn't have.
yeah,
Okay,
okay.
okay,
All
thank
right,
you, I appreciate that.
You've heard all that, right? Yeah.
Now we're gonna tell her to bring the screwy kids here.
We already have. They're ready.
No.
Is that right?
No,
No.
hello.
Like she. Represent her.
Hello, Brian.
We're looking for.
Wow.
So,
He is ill. And he was curious about participating by phone.
Sure, why not?
We can,
I think, I don't know how you do that. Joanne?
hang on,
Joanne,
Brian.
Brian is sick. Can he join in by, this will be recorded, right? Or is it being streamed? Oh. Or phone?
By
you can put a
phone.
Speakerphone or something? Okay, let's do that.
Okay, and
And
we're gonna have you,
I would announce that at the beginning of the hearing. that you
we're
said-
gonna have you on the phone. All right. I think I picked him up on my phone anyways. All right, bye. You still there? Okay. All right, I'm put you on speaker right now. Okay, great.
All right,
And-
it's spread out there.
Where is Joanne? Cause I don't have the name of the first guy.
The name, Shintar. Voice and Olga Shintar. You don't have this?
No, not tonight, cause I ended up in downtown and I've got the stuff from the other one. So what's the name?
Boris and Olga Shintar.
Or is it Olga Sintar?
Shin, Shintar.
Shin
TAR.
T A Shintar. Olga Olga Shintar.
is
Okay.
that Brian?
Yeah, he's on the phone.
Hi, I hope you feel better.
So we lost Joanne. Oh, there she is.
No, she's running around. I think she was gonna turn off the fan thing.
We're gonna start with, if you're gonna be ready, Boris and Olga Shintar. Okay. So I will get going in a sec, or we're live. Yep. Can I have your attention? Oh, that's working. All right, we had a little delay here. One of the panel members for the appeals committee, Brian Cope, is not feeling well, but he is on the phone. So we're gonna get started with this appeal hearing, and the agenda is we're gonna be starting off with Boris and Olga Shintar. Is Boris here? Okay, as you know, this hearing is governed by the rules of procedure adopted by the board on October 12th. It's required to be held in open session unless the appellant requests a closed session. And I'm going to like to confirm that before we begin, the appellant wishes this hearing to be an open session. And please note that although the hearing is an open session, all deliberations of the committee will be held in closed session. Yeah, let's reconfirm that, Boris. Did you want to hold your hearing in open session? Thank you. Do you have any late submissions? Do you have anything, you've turned in previous paperwork? Did you have anything tonight that we haven't seen? Okay, we're gonna be starting off with Joanne explaining the fines and the reason for this hearing. And we will have some limited time, but it shouldn't be too long with yours. So Joanne, if you'd start. Oh, I've been requested to indicate how much time, and I think each person should be able to handle it in 15 minutes or less. And then once Joanne speaks, then Boris will be able to explain his side, and then any rebuttals will then be handled by Joanne.
Thank you. On August 8th, a notification letter was sent to Boris Shintar, care of Clear Cut Company at 4776 Bayshore Drive in Blaine regarding the property 63 Harbor View Drive. I will read from that letter. Dear Boris, I am writing on behalf of the Sudden Valley Community Association to inform you that during regularly scheduled construction inspections, the following violations were observed at the above referenced property. On June 23rd, 2022, it was observed that excavation was performed prior to submission of the erosion control inspection. The inspection form was submitted on 6/22 and it was inspected on 6/23. This inspection must be completed before excavation can begin. During the inspection, excavated dirt was observed piled up under tree drip lines and up against trees. Photos are included in the evidence depicting the extent of dirt up against the trees after the dirt was removed and the trees were exposed. So by comparing the two pictures, you can see. Also, no entry tree barrier fencing was missing. On July 14th, 2023, it was noted that no ACC approval for a new construction time limit extension was found for the approved completion date of 6/1/2023. The letter goes on to cite excerpts from SVC rules and regulations as they relate to the above noted violations. A lot of rules. The fines assessed were as follows. 1, failure to notify staff for required inspections, $200. 2, violation of covenants, bylaws, rules and regulations, or ACC guidelines not specified. First violation, $100. That was for the lack of fencing. Fine number 3, violation of covenants, bylaws, rules and regulations, or ACC guidelines not specified. Second violation, $200. That was the erosion control. And 4, failure to obtain ACC approval for a new construction time limit extension. That fine is $500. An additional $1,700 was assessed at a rate of $50 per day for the 34 workdays from the approved completion date of 6/1/2023 to final inspection on 7/14/2023. This amount of fines totals $2,700 and it was withheld from the completion deposit. As documentation, I submitted to the appeals committee the final inspection report and other documentation that had been supplied by our ACC inspector, Joel Carter. And I included an email from Joel Carter in which he summarized the violations. On August 8th, I received an email from Olga Shintar, and she let me know that she was writing in regards to 63 Harbor View Drive. She had stopped by the office wanting to meet with me personally to discuss the fines. And I'll just continue to read from her message. I understand the pictures and evidence of the fines that were noted. Our concern is about the renewal fine, including the everyday amount. Unfortunately, we were not aware of it. I know that the county usually gives a 60-day warning when permits expire. In our situation, we didn't receive anything from Sudden Valley, and we were totally unaware that we had to renew. Boris had been in the office multiple times. He attended ACC meeting, and each time no one mentioned anything. We attended a meeting to get approval for the retaining wall, and again, no one mentioned anything then either. I'm sad it was a matter of paperwork and we wouldn't hesitate to take care of it if someone had mentioned it to us. We really hope you will consider waiving these fines. We tried hard to comply with every rule. Thank you, Olga Shintar. I would like to note that the ACC guidelines do include a reference to the fact that Sudden Valley will try to warn builders when their deadline dates are approaching. We do not always have the staff available to do that. And so in this case, no warning was issued. Thank you. Do you have any questions before I?
Brian? Go ahead, Boris. State your name and address.
Boris Shintar, 63 Harborview Drive. So basically, the letter kind of summarized everything. The one I want to appeal is the expired Sudden Valley permit. And after, say, I think 2021, I built a house and my deposit was not returned for damaged trees. I did everything by the book. I tried doing everything I could with this project. And the other violations, I've talked about that with Joel, and I kind of worked with him. I did the best I could regarding the dirt and the fencing. That stuff is pretty straightforward. The one that's, even though I know it's in the laws of Sudden Valley that they don't have to give anybody a heads up, I feel like it's unfair that nobody would mention anything, even after submitting changes to my retaining wall, at which point apparently the permit was already expired. Even then, nobody mentioned anything, nobody said anything. And then when I talked to Joel about getting my deposit back, that was the one that blindsided me, was the expired permit. Obviously, have anybody mentioned anything if it was a big deal? I wasn't. I was so busy with trying to wrap up the house that it just slipped my mind, and I figured if it's an issue, somebody's gonna mention it. And I believe it's unfair that I'm being charged $50 a day because it's sort of, I just think it's unfair that that's the process without giving a heads up. I understand the initial $500 fine. I get that, but I don't think I should be charged $50 a day without my knowledge and then just get blindsided at the end. That's my plea. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris.
Any questions?
Any questions, Brian? No.
Like I said, it wasn't like I was protesting or anything. It just slipped my mind and that's all.
Okay, thank you, Boris. Now our panel's going to adjourn momentarily. We're going to go to a private room and discuss this. We around 15 minutes. I'm not sure how long it'll take us, but
We tell Joanne first, or doesn't it matter?
No.
Okay.
She. Still there, Brian? You there, Brian?
Yep, I'm still here.
Okay. We'd like to call this appeals committee meeting back to order. After deliberating, we have made a decision, and I would like to also state that all decisions by this appeal committee, if they're not satisfactory to the appellant, that they're able to appeal it again to the full board. So that being said, I will render our decision. And we have decided to lower the daily fine fee to $500. That's our decision. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll clarify, the fine of $1,700 has been reduced to 500. The daily fine, that was the decision of the committee.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was a unanimous decision.
We don't. All right, we were going to be moving along to the next agenda item. And again, I'd like to reiterate, this hearing is governed by rules of procedure adopted by the board on October 12th. This hearing is required to be held in open session unless the appellant requests a closed session. I want to confirm before we begin that the appellant wishes this hearing to be an open session. Timmy, could you please get up to mic? Because this event's being recorded only through these microphones.
We do want it to be an open session. I did talk to Rich Davis and he said it's fine if I also represent my daughter Carrie. Since it is the same event, I'd like it treated as one set of fines rather than trying to go through one whole set of things and then covering that mostly same information all over again. So hopefully we can just do this as one instead of two.
Thank you. Do you have any last minute submissions that you wanted to present today? Because we did have a timeline in our rules for submitting information.
Okay, well, I have sent in a great deal of information. I've sent you at least 3 videos taken the day of our community picnic. I have sent in 9 witness statements. I do have a statement to make, but it will just be a summary of.
Okay, we're gonna be picking that up after Joanne. It's like, we're just curious if you've sent some stuff already? Go ahead.
So what we'd like to do is, there were some submissions that were made after the deadline, and the committee would like to hear your your explanation of why they were submitted late. The rules provide that the committee can choose either to ignore materials that are submitted late or give them some reduced weight. And so that's one of the decisions they'll need to
Would
make.
that be witness statements that came in late?
Right.
Okay.
So you should have some time to explain why they were submitted late, so the committee can take that into account and decide what to do about those statements. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I can't force people to get things that it was our understanding that we had up until Monday morning to submit. But before I even go into that, I do really want to make an important statement about this whole hearing. When the rules for procedure of appeals was changed, which was very recently, part of the reason they were changed was to, and I quote, "The board desires to strike a balance between the importance of providing fair forum for appellants." Also, in one of the sections, it says recusal of appeals committee members. And following the submission of a request for appeal, the general manager shall promptly notify the appeals committee members. Any member of the appeals committee who believes that it is not possible for them to discharge their duties in a fair or impartial manner shall then promptly notify the chair that they intend to recuse themselves. All right, so, and I have included an exact copy of what was said at a board meeting when the board decided to censure me. It is very, very clear that all
That
3
is not germane to this.
is germane to
I'm
this.
sorry,
because
but
if you
that
are
is-
not, you are biased.
That is, the
You,
rules state, and it's very clear that it is the choice of the appointed appeals
You're
committee member
okay.
to recuse themselves. And that was in the rules for this hearing, and that was very clear. So that choice is up to each appointed member. That's it. It's like, it's not decided by other paperwork anywhere. That it was supposed to happen at that meeting when the appeals committee was chosen, and anybody that was there and appointed to the committee, it was up to them at that time to recuse themselves. And that's where that stands.
so it is okay for biased
No,
Definitely
that is,
to a
you're not,
public.
this is
statement.
not germane
It
to
is
what we're
germane
doing
because
here.
they've made public statements already judging me. I have been judged guilty already by the 3 members of the.
You were sent a
committee.
notice of that, and you received that. And that's the decision of the chair,
I
that those
asked-
people had their right to recuse themselves. They did not do that, and that is my appeals committee. And you were
That is
at the
exactly my
meeting, there
point.
was no one else to choose, so these people were chosen. They did not recuse themselves. It's spelled out in the rules, and that's that.
You know, all 3 members are biased and have already judged me.
Let
This is
me
not an appeal.
reiterate,
I have lost the ability
that
to have a fair appeal.
all appeals can continue. If you do not like the results of today's appeal committee hearing, then you can take the opportunity to present it to the full board. And then more information come out, then it's in front of the full board. So tonight, this is the choices that we have. This was the committee that was given to me, and we're going to move forward now.
So interesting that it is 3 days
Please,
before the
can you take a
AGM and
seat?
2 of those members will not be on the new board. This was planned and you know it.
The attempt to put together appeals committee was quite clearly difficult. And it happened before, choosing members that would or would not want to participate. That is what we've got to work with. And so tonight, we're going to follow through with the appeals committee hearing. And then we will decide to make a decision based on the evidence. And then if you do not like the results of that, again, you will be able to take it to the full board. And all the other events that happen have nothing to do with that. We cannot base those decisions on all different events that happen around Sudden Valley. This was clearly stated in the rules. So if you would please, we will continue and everyone can present what their evidence is, why and why not, and we can move forward. So you have the option after this is over to appeal it to the full board. Thank you. Got anything?
No, we really didn't address there were some submissions that she made. I'm not speaking, I'm speaking to the chair. Late submissions that were not, you should have given her a chance to explain why you should consider those late submissions, but limited to that.
All right, it's been recommended by legal counsel. Then would you please step up to the mic one more time? Thank you, Tamita. And what we were asking previously was, could you give an explanation for the late submittals? And that's what we want to hear. So then that the appeals committee can weigh that evidence for the weight of it after we find out why they were late. And so that's going to be part of the decision making. So we just would like some explanation for the reason of the late submittals.
The only late submittals were witness statements, 9 witness statements. And they were sent to you as soon as I had them.
Okay, thank you. Well, there's going to be a little bit more time involved in this one, so we're going to allow the presenters 20 minutes each. If it looks like we're going to need a little bit more, we'll make that decision to extend that, but we're going to try to get this over with tonight. So we'll begin with Joanne.
All you need to do is evidentiary objections.
At this time, we're going to ask both parties, was there any evidentiary evidence that you would like to dispute? Was that
This part of the hearing is for either party, if they have any evidentiary objections pursuant to rule 6G, subsection I or 2, now would be the time to make those objections. No, you're just hearing.
This is your objections, John? And Tammy had this in her possession also?
Confirm if-
Scanned it
if
in.
Tiny has any
Yeah.
objection to the evidence
Yeah.
presented by Cindy.
Timey, did you have any evidence that was presented to you that you have objections to?
Well, I do have a lot of objections about the evidence I was just given.
No, that's not evidence. That's just argument.
Okay,
The part of this hearing is if you have objections regarding the submissions made by Sudden Valley, now would be your time.
all right. So let me read what I had prepared. And let me say that clearly this is harassment and retaliation by the board because my views are different from theirs. Despite the fact that Joanne confirmed in writing that she was aware of the event in early July,
No, this,
we had 20 minutes.
that's not
No.
evidence that,
Can I clarify? At this point, you may object to anything that Sudden Valley put into the records on evidentiary objection basis. So there is a part of the rules called evidentiary rulings that allows either party to make objections. We don't need you to get into your presentation just yet. You'll have a time to do that. Question is, we just want to confirm that you don't have any objections before we move on.
I have quite a few objections, including even what is in Joanne's submission in regards to the guard who even in her own statement, it says that he had a conversation with a gentleman who he believed to be a board member, which I don't think they were, but that he didn't have a problem. I have a problem with him being forced to call the sheriff by Sam Shahan, despite the fact that when Sam was there.
that I do not believe that that
That-
was
it was-
evidence
it was-
given
it-
to you.
That was in the statement from the guard that was presented.
What is the basis for the objection?
That it's not true.
That you can talk about in your presentation. Here, objections would be things, and I know you're not a lawyer, but would be things like relevance, immaterial, personal attack, things of that nature. It's not in the nature of evidence that the committee should hear. That is what the purpose of this section of the hearing is. You'll get your chance to present.
Okay, I didn't expect some of these questions and I would have to go through. But even things like where Joanne said there was promotional material because the picnic was listed on Summer Cronk's calendar, despite the fact that that also included AA meetings, board meetings, yoga, all kinds of things. Presenting a calendar that happens to mention one of the events, that's not proper and fair evidence. That's not promotional. Oh. I have an objection to the fact that I was told that I destroyed Sudden Valley signs, despite the fact that I have a picture showing that they were not destroyed.
I'm not trying to cut you off. It's just that these are not evidentiary objections. This is your position statement, which we
Okay.
want to give you a chance to do that in one fell swoop. So I think it's probably appropriate now to move on to the
Okay.
presentations. I don't want to take your role, but is that?
No, that, we are ready to begin presentations, Joanne.
It's a Are you okay with consolidating the appeal hearings given the nature of the fact that it arises out of one?
Are you okay with that,
That was Tiny's
Nancy.
request.
Nancy? Are you okay with them being put together?
For Joanne's statement though, it's whatever Joanne has prepared. So if she has prepared separate, I want to go with separate. If she's prepared combined, we go combined.
Can she can present separate.
What was that, Joanne? I think in the interest of time, just consolidating those timing requested would be good.
I'm good with that.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay. My next statements are specifically about the appeal of fines by Carrie Vandepolder, who resides at 4 Spinnaker Lane. On July 22nd, 2023, an event took place at the Marina Picnic Shelter. This event did not have the approval of SVCA. On the morning of July 22nd, signs were posted at the picnic shelter to make individuals aware that the event did not have the permission of the association. I posted the signs myself with the help of the guard on duty, Brad Walters. These signs were removed by the individuals setting up for the event. This was reported to me by the guard who was patrolling the marina as part of his normal routine. Because the signs had been removed, I went to the picnic shelter to make people aware that the event was not approved by SVCA. When I arrived, I could see that people were behaving normally. Nothing inappropriate was going on. I approached some of the groups that were gathered near the pavilion and let them know that the event did not have SVCA approval and that the association would have no liability for anything that occurred, such as a color run. Several of the people in attendance at the event began to say things such as, "Go away," and "We don't want you here." When I didn't immediately leave, the comments intensified with people using inappropriate language. Harry Vandepolder approached me and told me to leave, told me I had no right to be there, told me I had no right to tell them what to do. Her proximity to me, her tone of voice, and the increasing vehemence of her remarks were threatening and inappropriate. I left the event having informed as many people as possible of the circumstances. Later in the afternoon, I received a text from the guard saying, and I quote, "Sorry, I am done with those people. After the old guy in the truck basically called me a Nazi, I came back to the guard shack to avoid anything that would put me in a bad position." End quote. This was the only information I had at the time. I did not know whether the group had become disruptive, and the guard had informed me that he was not patrolling the marina area. To ensure that things were under control, I returned to the marina and again went to the picnic shelter. Vice President Sam Shahan accompanied me. At the picnic shelter, I informed the event organizer, Timey, that the behavior of the people at her event had caused the guard to leave, and that I had come in his place to make sure nothing was going on. Carrie Vandepolder again approached me and continued her abusive remarks. I ignored her and greeted some of the attendees at the event, specifically Mitch Waterman. When I was speaking with Mitch, he became annoyed by Ms. Vandepolder's continued remarks and said, "Stop it. That's inappropriate. She is just doing her job." At no time was I hostile or aggressive to anyone in attendance at the event. My goal was simply to let people know that the event was not approved by the association and that the association had no liability for anything that occurred at the event. Ms. Vandepolder's behavior demonstrated a lack of respect for the authority of the association to manage the common property for the good of all residents, which is one of SVCA's fundamental responsibilities. I believe that the fines are warranted and appropriate. The other evidence that I submitted in support of the appeals were notices of violation. The original notice of violation was sent to Timey Vandepolder. Timey is listed as one of the owners on the 4 Spinnaker Lane property. And our system just brings up owners who are on the deed. And I picked the first one. So I realized that it was going to Carrie, who resides at 4, but it was originally sent to Timey as one of the owners on the deed. When Timey informed me that that was inappropriate, I sent another copy of the same letter to Carrie directly at 4 Spinnaker Lane. I've also included reports from the guards, from the guard on duty, Brad Walters, that go into a little bit more detail about the actions of the various people at the event. I'd like to say that I do not object to members using the picnic pavilion at the marina or any of our other amenities. The only objection that I had to make at this time about the event was the abusive language that was continuously directed at me by Carrie Vandepolder. I've been asked also to review the appeal of fines against 8 Spinnaker Lane and Timey Vandepolder. In the notice of violation that was sent to Timey Vandepolder on July 28th, the following fines are assessed: noxious and offensive conduct, $100, vandalism, $500, lying to avoid penalty or responsibility, $100, disorderly behavior or conduct, $100. The notations after each fine refer to specific sections of SVCA's rules and regulations. The reference sections are shown in my evidence that I submitted. I don't think I need to read them here and bore everyone. Regarding the first violation, although Timey was told not to hold a color run, she went ahead with the activity as part of her event on July 22nd. This color run deposited a large amount of colored chalk on the ground in the Marina Dog Park. Residents complained about the dust and avoided the area because of it. The chalk dust qualifies as a nuisance and could potentially have become a hazard if individuals with asthma encountered it. No effort was made to supply SVCA with information about the substance used for the color run. Violation 2, vandalism. The dust deposited by Timey affected the condition of the Marina Dog Park. This constitutes vandalism. Also, people attending the event removed the signs that had been posted on the picnic shelter and destroyed the A-frame sign that was placed adjacent to the structure. This is destruction of property. Violation 3, lying to avoid penalty or responsibility. Timey lied on the rental contract that she submitted for the event. She answered no to the question regarding whether promotional advertising would be used for the event. The event was promoted on Facebook. Further, the facility rental agreement did not accurately describe the scope and activities to be conducted during the event. Violation 4, disorderly behavior or conduct. By holding her event after being told by the association that it was canceled, Timey engaged in disorderly conduct. As evidence to substantiate the claims that I have made, I have included the following in the evidence that I submitted: a copy of the rental agreement, the email dated July 17th that was sent to Timey notifying her that the planned color run was not allowed by the rental agreement, a copy of the letter sent to Timey on July 19th canceling her rental agreement, an example of the sign that was posted on the Marina Picnic Shelter on July the 22nd, screenshots showing that the event was promoted on Facebook, a copy of the community announcement about the event that was posted on the SVCA website on July 26th, summarizing the events that took place, and incident reports prepared by SVCA Security regarding the events that took place on July 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And are you ready, Timey? Please state your name and both addresses and also Carrie's name.
All right, this is for, I'm Timey Vandepolder. I'm also speaking for Carrie.
Timey, please use the mic best you can.
I'm Timey Vandepolder and I'm also speaking for Carrie Vandepolder. I live at 8 Spinnaker Lane. She lives at 4 Spinnaker Lane. And before I start anything else, I just wanted to note in the evidence that was just handed to me by Joanne Jensen, she says that how SVCA may have processed and handled violations by residents is irrelevant to whether Timey and Carrie committed the acts that constitute the grounds for their respective violations. And I challenge that because we are to apply our rules equally, whether we like the person or whether we don't like the person. It is, this one is very disturbing that we will choose to apply our rules depending on who we're talking to. That's not acceptable. So, moving on. Okay. Despite the fact that Joanne had confirmed in writing that she was aware of the event in early July, she chose to wait until July 17th, just 5 days before our Saturday picnic. And her first communication was very confusing as she stated, and I quote, and by the way, I still do have that voicemail. Anyway, the color run that you have planned, from what I understand, makes use of areas outside of the shelter, which is not allowed by the rental agreement. Clearly, as shown in the information I have provided to all of you, you have all of that. I mean, I've probably given you 40 pages of proof. This is not true. Had a legitimate reason been given instead of a falsehood, this could have been handled very differently. On Thursday, July 20th at 2:30, now this is only 2 days before our event, and just make sure we know that as of July 17th, this was after the date that we had said that we would provide free t-shirts and people had to have their names in. So Joanne and the association waited until the very last minute to make sure the most amount of money was spent to injure us as at our event as much as possible. On Thursday, July 20th at 2:30, Joanne called to make sure I was aware that the rental of the Marina Pavilion had been revoked because of what she referred to as anomalies in my application. I have provided you with a definition of promotional advertising, and there was no business promoted on our invitation or anything sold. And by the way, the only stipulation I had from Alex was nothing can be sold out of that pavilion. While the free t-shirts did have a business name printed on them, the donor was not advertised ahead of time. The event was on Summer Cronk's Good Morning Sudden Valley calendar, but she put that out as a service. She puts that out as a service to members since many are unaware of events in the community, and we no longer have a communications committee that used to do a lot of that. She lists all events she becomes aware of, including board meetings, committee meetings, yoga classes, AA meetings, etc. On Saturday, we did choose to go ahead with our picnic as a great deal of money had been spent despite signs being put up, because we were aware of in our rules and regulations 11.13, which states members of SVCA in good standing may use any facility during posted hours, and that the park is an SVCA common area, which according to the Sudden Valley website is any building or area or area of property intended for shared use by all members, whether or not an additional use fee may supply. We were perfectly content to not have exclusive use of the pavilion. Shortly after we began setting up, Joanne arrived with a guard to inform us that the picnic had been canceled. After a fair bit of discussion, Joanne is on video stating that we could go ahead, but we would be liable. We stated that we had already agreed to that. Also, we had already asked attendees to sign waivers holding SVCA harmless. At no time did she ever indicate that there had been any threatening behavior, nor did she ever ask anyone to settle down. Our color run lasted about 15 to 20 minutes out of that whole day, and we made sure to stay away from the off-leash side of the park and anyone that was there. We received no complaints from anyone nearby, and many even had fun watching the kids having such a good time. The only complaints from the association or members came later on social media from people not in attendance. And I do need to state that although we keep, Joanne has numerous times said there was chalk, it is cornstarch. Cornstarch is 10% nitrogen. I have given you it. Yes, it is. I have, Nancy, it's inappropriate.
Please, listen.
Nancy, I've
Played.
This- no.
Oh, sure. You're really not biased. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That just shows your bias. So I appreciate that. Joanne came back with Sam Shahan later in the day and is again on video stating that the guard left for the day. And at that time she stated she had called in for a replacement and had said, I am security for the day. She told me that she would be assigning the largest fine possible, and this is in front of many witnesses, to me because of the situation with the guard, and that she would be bringing the matter to the board. The guard was seen just a few minutes after Joanne and Sam left and is on video stating that he was not threatened by us, that he was over it. And he did say some guy had called him a Nazi, but in his paperwork that Joanne submitted, yes, Nancy, he did state it. Look at Joanne's paperwork. He said that
Water timing.
he stated that it was just a misunderstanding, like there was a conversation and he did say he was over it. Joanne's evidence even shows that the guard actually apologized and had a discussion with a member that included reference to the war, but he did feel he had been called a Nazi. He indicated that Sam Shahan told him to call the sheriff. He wasn't comfortable with that, so he called his field supervisor, Dan, to check and was told that since Sam is the vice president of the board, he had to do it. The sheriff declined to come as no laws had been broken. It was not until 2 or 3 days later that we learned Joanne had supposedly been threatened. The decision to make that assertion was clearly because they could not use their original threat. Contrary to the arbitrary fines assigned to us, no SVCA officer or representative was threatened. Were there loud voices? Yes. It was upsetting. Kids were all ready to have a really fun day, that we were not causing trouble for anyone. And the next weekend, there was an equally a large group there that wasn't, security never went down and complained about their balloons and all the stuff that was going on the next weekend. There was no disorderly behavior or conduct. There was free speech and we are allowed that. There was no noxious or offensive conduct. There was no vandalism. And if you want to say that the A-frame signs were damaged, please refer to the picture that I gave you, which shows them leaning up the next day still against the pavilion. And if Sudden Valley chose to leave them there for a number of days, then that might be when they got vandalized, but they were not damaged in any way by our group. And there was no lying to avoid penalty or responsibility. And again, I am going to state my objection to the particular appeals committee who has already judged me.
Is that also the end of representing Gary's evidence?
It is, as I stated, I was representing both of them and I listed all of the fines, the threatening, the supposed vandalism. It was all one big happy event. And as a matter of fact, Carrie even offered Joanne a hot dog and some chips and some water if she wanted them after everything was said and done. And I think you also saw pictures of Joanne smiling and the guard smiling. There was no threats. There was no vandalism. This should have been a really fun day for Sudden Valley residents.
Thank you. Joanne, rebuttal?
Regarding activity outside of the picnic shelter, my first communication to Taimi was an attempt to moderate what was happening so that the event did not have to be canceled. By conducting an activity that involved this substance that nobody knew what it was for the color run, that would have prohibited other people from using the off-leash dog park. And that was what I attempted to explain in my original email. Of course, activity outside of the picnic shelter is okay. There's a volleyball net. There's, place for people to run around and play games. And it'd be silly to think that anyone at a picnic would stay underneath the roof the whole time. But the objection that I had to the color run specifically is that as an activity, it would prohibit other people who had asthma or breathing conditions. And remember, at this time, I had absolutely no information about what substance was being used for the color run, because it had not been disclosed on the rental agreement. regarding promotion, the reason that we asked that question on the rental agreement is to gauge whether attendance, as predicted by the event organizer who was applying for permission to rent something, if they tell us they're going to promote the event, that sort of opens up a new question for us to wonder whether the attendance they've projected is accurate. We raised this question for another event that wanted to use originally the Marina Pavilion, and that is the Friends of the Library, who were wanting to schedule a jazz concert. And because we didn't know how many people it could be, we asked them to move that venue to the rec corridor because more parking was available. During the summer months, of course, there are many people who want to use the marina for their boats. And it's the nice dog off leash park. So a lot of people are down there for a lot of different reasons, and to tie up a large amount of parking would be problematic. So it's not so much about stuff being sold at an event, although it is against our rules to conduct business on Sudden Valley's common property without permission. But that promotional question is asked really about gauging attendance. And so if people say anybody's welcome on Facebook, that means anybody's welcome. And we don't know what the attendance could be, and it's concerning because it could be large enough to cause issues with parking. Regarding Brad Walters, who was the guard that day, I think it's important to understand that all the information that I had from Brad came through the text and then later through those incident reports that he wrote. So when he told me via text that he had it and he was going home for the day, and that's what I reacted to. So I returned to the marina and I took the actions that I took. The fact that he spoke to his field supervisor, decided not to call the police, well, those were all things that I wasn't there about. I didn't see the marina, so I was reacting to his statement that the crowd was out of control and he couldn't take it anymore and he had left. So the first thing I did was to go head on down there to find out what was going on. And I agree with Tommy. Nothing was going on. It was a bunch of people having a picnic, and there was evidence on the grass that they had put the chalk down there. I didn't know why he left until I saw that report, and it was, some guy was talking to him about how he was a Nazi or something, and he flew off the handle. But regardless, I acted on the information that I received. I went down there. I wasn't hostile or aggressive. I needed to discharge my responsibility to the association by ensuring that, in fact, nothing was going on. Nothing was. I didn't appreciate the rude remarks that were made to me. Did I find them threatening? No, because I've grown up as a child in some of the worst areas of the United States. I'm not afraid of anyone or anything. That doesn't excuse the rude treatment that I received when I went down there. You know what? It's not really at all about me. It's about the association. And all of these violations demonstrate that the association is not respected and its rules are not respected, and that we get to modify the rules. Well, we don't. So that's why I submitted these violations.
Thank you, Joanne. We were ready to deliberate in closed session, but I do see your hand up, Timey, so if you would please step up to the mic.
All right. Joanne just said she was not threatened. So I'd like to make sure that we make note of that. And she also talked about that she did not, that it wasn't about not being able to use outside of the pavilion. I'd like to play this.
Hi, Timey. This is Joanne Jensen calling Thursday afternoon. I wanted to make sure that you received my email and the letter that I dropped off at your house regarding your Saturday rental. The rental contract has been revoked.
Okay, sorry, that's the wrong one. I apologize for that. This is the one that I wanted to play. That is my mistake. Sorry about that.
Hi, Tiny. This is Joanne Jensen, calling in regards to the event that you have scheduled on Saturday. I sent you an email. The only email address I had, for you was your board email. So I wanted to make sure to call you in case you weren't looking at that email, routinely. Anyway, the color run that you have planned, from what I understand, makes use of areas outside of the shelter, which is not allowed by the rental agreement. Anyway, take a look at the email, and then if you'd like to discuss it with me, you can reach me via cell at 06.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now that we've heard from both sides of the appeal, we are now going to close this meeting.
Can I
Sure.
say something?
No, because we can just, we're going to deliberate.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we are going to close for deliberation. And
And I want to talk about
Yep.
corn. Yes.
we will be back in, I'm gonna hope under half an hour. Heading downstairs, Ryan. What was the fine and the number? This one is scary. You with us, Brian? I'd like to call this appeals committee hearing back in open session. After deliberation, we have decided, first, let me reiterate that for any decision we make, if you're not satisfied with the results as an appellant, you can appeal this to the full board. There's one more step. So now we have made a decision that we are going to keep all fines in place except for the threatening an SVCA officer or representative for carry, which is $1,000, R&R 1.1.5A. That's our decision. Thank you. Meeting is closed.